Someone secretly living under your name and benefits. It's about to be exposed in the meat. Archangel Michael says this message arrives like a seal breaking at midnight, and what has been hidden beneath your name is now trembling at the edge of exposure. The air around you feels charged because a truth has ripened and can no longer stay silent. Tonight becomes the last calm breath before everything pretended about you is forced into the light. You have felt it in small glitches that never made sense, and now those glitches line up like footprints through wet clay. A parcel you never ordered arrived with a smile shared between strangers who knew your name too well. A number in a ledger moved when you were asleep, and a privilege intended for you was enjoyed by a ghost. This ghost learned the rhythm of your day and traced the outline of your life like a tailor measuring a stolen suit. They took what belonged to your timeline and wore it as if it were a costume. Every benefit they collected left a faint shine of you on their hands. A chair was warmed at an office where your file lives, but you were across town when the signature was given. A clerk remembers eyes that looked like yours and a voice that carried your certainty. The date stamp doesn't bend, and the camera on the ceiling blinked without mercy. A code that only you should know quietly unlocked a gate that only you should pass. The record shows the gate opening, the voice welcoming, the computer agreeing. But your phone's location tells another story and refuses to lie for anyone. Messages came from a number that is yours but not yours, a twin number, a mirrored number. Replies went out from that twin and returned with approvals, and he or she smiled with a confidence purchased using your reflection. The system, for a while, could not tell the difference between a shadow and the person who cast it. The shadow learned to mimic your handwriting by repeating your name in slow lines until the letters became silk. The loops on the G and the curve on the R were perfected through patience and practice. The signature stands proud at the bottom of forms that drifted past officials like boats past lighthouses. They found the scent of your life in old emails and followed it to the places where decisions were made. They collected what you were meant to receive and ate at a table set in your honor. Your absence was a mistake they allowed to continue because it fed their hunger. Yet the clock is no longer their friend, and a meeting you did not arrange has been arranged for you. The meet is scheduled, and the invitations have the weight of consequence pressed into their paper. Those who will attend have sworn to look only at the truth. The room that waits for you is quiet now, but rehearsal has ended for the impostor. The spotlight will not blink, and testimony will not scatter. A chair with your name stands in front of a table with your record. In this room, there is a screen that will show frames, and those frames will not flatter those who lied. The frames bear times and dates, and they speak in a language that officers hear clearly. The footage has no desire to be gentle. You step into this scene with steady breath and a simple folder that contains the history you lived. You carry proof not as a weapon but as a lantern. You will not raise your voice, you will raise your evidence. The first page in your folder is a calendar that proves your presence when the shadow claimed your benefits. The second page is a letter with a watermark that resists forgery the way a mountain resists a breeze. The third holds a transaction path that curves around you without touching you. You will place these pages on the table one by one, and no moment of your life will be wasted on panic. Your calm will be the rope that fixes the tent in a sudden wind. You will let the facts do what facts do best. There is a witness whose mouth has been quiet for longer than is comfortable, and that mouth is about to open. They saw the shadow once, and the shadow did not notice. They will describe the scene with a precision that is not cruel, only exact. A door will rattle, and the identity that dared to borrow you will enter. The room does not have space for two of your names, and one must surrender. The surrender will not come with dramatic music, it will come with acknowledgement. The first acknowledgement is a glance at the camera stills and a blink that slows down too much. The second is a hesitation when a simple address is asked for and a wrong street falls out. The third is a tremor in the pen when a new signature must be given. You will feel your heart push against your ribs, and you will choose not to speak until it is your turn. Your turn will arrive like a bell in a quiet village. Your words will be clear and needed. You will say your full name and let it hang in the air like a banner. That belongs to you and no other. You will confirm the timeline you actually lived, and the map will match your footsteps. You will explain once, and it will be enough. Officials will move papers from one stack to another like clouds changing hands. They will ask for the last 4 digits of proof you have known since childhood. They will nod at the feeling of accuracy when they hear them. The shadow will reach for a story and find it smaller than the silence around it. The room will not rescue the story because the room prefers facts. A hint of sound will escape from a throat that can no longer maintain the performance. You will not look at them with anger, only with completion. You will not offer a speech about justice, you will offer a signature of your own. The ink from your pen will lay true and leave a line that belongs. Outside the building, a wind will lift dust and carry the last loose threads of confusion down the road. Inside, a printer will wake and press a new page into the world. The new page will confirm what was always true. You will reclaim not just a benefit but the dignity of your timeline. The days that were paused will resume, and the accounts that were interrupted will be mended. A simple letter will leave the room in an envelope with your rightful name. The meat will give you back the door that was taken and the key that was copied. Your records will regain their original spine and stand upright on the shelf. The file will close with a click that sounds like a promise kept. Tonight, before you sleep, you will gather the last loose pieces for the morning. Place your ID where your hand finds it easily, and let the folder rest by the door. Your courage will be folded underneath like a note you never have to read aloud. Drink water and let your chest unclench, because this outcome has already been written in a calm ink. The rush you feel is simply your life catching up to itself. The quiet that follows will become your new normal. When you wake, the sky will not be different, but your day will be. The route you take will feel like a ribbon unrolling beneath your feet. Every step will remove another borrowed footprint from your path. At the building, you will smell paper and coffee and hear the slow hum of decisions being made. You will find your chair, and it will not creak under the weight of fear. You will sit, and the room will recognize the person it was built to serve. Someone will read your name as though tuning an instrument carefully. They will lift their eyes and meet yours, and their nod will be the first stitch. The stitches will continue until the tear is closed. The imposter will realize that pretending is hard when the crowd forgets to applaud. The silence will ask the only honest question that matters without needing words. The answer will collapse on itself like a tent without stakes. You will watch the collapse without flinching because your task is not vengeance. your task is reclamation. You are not here to bruise, you are here to restore. Restoration is heavier than anger and more useful. When it is finally over, a small stack of corrected pages will rest on the table like a restored portrait. You will hold them and feel the weight of your own face returning. A door will open to the hall, and you will step into the cleaner air. Your name will sound right again when strangers say it. Letters will land in the right mailbox and stay loyal. Notifications will stop behaving like sparrows trying to live in the wrong house. Evenings will be lighter because your accounts no longer argue with themselves. Mornings will be honest because your records wake up when you do. Noon will stop feeling like an interruption. You will archive the memory of the shadow not as a wound but as a page that taught you to keep originals safe. You will learn to hold your documents like a gardener holds seeds, not with fear but with care. The care will become part of your daily breathing. You will change passwords as easily as you change seasons, and you will treat your name like sunlight. You will notice the difference between familiarity and access, and you will guard the latter with grace. Grace is firm when it needs to be. In a few months, the memory will be a story you can tell without your hands shaking. The story will end with a simple sentence: "It was corrected." That sentence will be enough. There is, however, a final clearing that happens when the body accepts what the mind already knows. You will rest after the meat and let the relief move through you like a tide. The tide will wash away the last footprints the shadow left on your shore. Your friends will see something steadier in your eyes, and they will not need an explanation. Your work will settle into a rhythm that matches your name again. Your sleep will remember how to cradle you. Somewhere, the person who borrowed you will face the ledger that can't be charmed. They will confront the cost of pretending to be someone who breathes truth. The cost is not yours to tally. You will not chase outcomes that belong to other hands. The system will do its work, and you have already done yours. Your task is to live under your own name with the confidence of someone who knows what belongs to them. In the weeks that follow, a letter will arrive that hums with closure. It will summarize the corrections and state them in ink that refuses to fade. You will place it in a drawer where important things rest. Once in a while you will open that drawer, not to worry, but to remember that clarity can be won. You will feel the paper and be reminded of the day you kept your voice steady. That steadiness will become a quiet habit. The shadow lived where doubt likes to stand, but doubt has lost its rent-free room. Your house is not haunted by misused numbers anymore. The mirrors in your life have been cleaned and return only you. If you pass the building where the meet occurred, you will not hurry. You will walk past with a calm stride and a private nod. The nod will be the period at the end of a long sentence. Further along this road, the blessings that were delayed will arrive with punctuality. They will not apologize because gifts don't say sorry, they simply proceed. You will accept them without suspicion. Your name will continue to accompany you like music that knows your steps. It will be recognized by the places that matter and ignored by the doors you no longer need. Your name will travel lightly and return to you intact at nightfall. This is what exposure means when done with care, not spectacle, but repair. Not shouting, but correct naming. Not punishment for its own sake, but the return of rightful order. The meat makes this possible because honest rooms are sacred in their own way. In such rooms, pretending evaporates, and reality sets the table. You get to sit, and you get to eat. You do not owe the past any more than a signature stating the truth. You do not owe the shadow any more than a closed door. You do not owe fear any more than a gentle goodbye. From here forward, let the lessons be simple and strong. Keep duplicates of what matters and eyes kind but alert. Walk with the assurance that your life answers to your voice. Your name is a key and a compass and a song. Use it with respect and keep it near. It will not betray you when you honor it. There will still be days when bureaucracy tries to be confusing, but confusion now has less appetite. It will tire quickly in the presence of your new clarity. You will move through it like a tall person through low fog. If a whisper ever tries to claim that the shadow might return, you will smile at the thought and continue. The lock has been changed, and your house remembers. The memory is devoted to you. This entire journey becomes a chapter that proves something quiet and sturdy. It proves that truth can take its time and still arrive on schedule. It proves that resilience is a form of grace. You can share this story when someone else needs a map through their own fog. You can point to the moment where you chose steadiness over spectacle. You can show them how light behaves when it refuses to leave a room. On the final night of this season, you will stand by your window and understand the exact distance between you and the shadow. The distance will be permanent. Your breath will confirm it. Let gratitude be practical, not loud. Let safety be daily, not fragile. Let the future be a page that you write with ink that doesn't smear. The meat did not make you strong, it proved the strength you already carry. The pages did not give you your name, they returned it to its rightful owner. The room did not define you, it recognized you. Nothing is owed to fear now, and nothing is owed to noise. What is owed to you returns like a river finding its sea. You will receive it with the dignity of someone who never stopped being themselves. The lamps are being turned off in the building where exposure happened, and the night returns to its ordinary temperature. The last worker pulls the door closed and lets the lock catch. The corridor goes quiet in the best possible way. Across the city, your steps move toward home, and your keys sound honest in your hand. A door opens that knows your touch, and a room holds its breath for you. You enter, and the room exhales. Tomorrow will be made of simple victories, and the long shadow has no passport anymore. Calm will be your morning companion, and accuracy will keep time for you. This is how your name lives when it no longer carries someone else. The chapter ends with a signature that is yours and a record that stands refreshed. The story does not need applause to be complete. It needs only the truth to remain true. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. Archangel Michael says the uncovering is only the first light on the horizon. Now comes the sunrise that warms everything you own. The meet has ended, but the echo of that room is still working for you in places you cannot see. Let the echo move on your behalf while you move with intention. You walk out with corrected pages and a steadier pulse, and the street seems different in a way you can't explain. It's not louder or quieter, it's accurate. Accuracy is the soft armor you wear now. At home, you clear a clean space on the table and lay your documents like tiles. Your name sits on each one with a new firmness, as if the letters decided to lock arms. The folder, once a lifeboat, becomes a compass. You begin what will later be known as the post-meet protocol. You call the offices whose systems were touched and speak like a person who has already won. Voices on the other end adjust to the truth in your tone. The first call adds a note to your file that says, "Verified in person. Do not override without dual proof." The second call places a courtesy hold on any new changes until they contact you by 2 channels. The third call sets a flag that only you can lower. You change passwords without rushing, choosing phrases that belong to your private weather. Multi-factor steps click into place like seatbelts before takeoff. Recovery emails are cleaned the way you'd clean a lens. You add a simple passphrase to your accounts, a thing only you could say the way you say it. Not a favorite color that can be guessed, not a city that can be scraped, but a small memory that lives between your ribs. Systems respect specificity when it is calm. There is a report to file, and you file it the way you would sign for a parcel that actually belongs to you. Where it is called an incident report, you call it that. Where it is an FIR, you let the officer write those initials carefully. Paperwork sounds mundane until it becomes the backbone of your piece. You ask for a copy of everything you submit and save it in 3 places. 1 reachable, 1 private, 1 offline. This is not paranoia, this is stewardship. Stewardship turns you into someone the future thanks. Friends offer advice that bounces like loose coins on a table. You thank them and keep what aligns with the quiet in your chest. The quiet knows the route now. The imposter occupies fewer thoughts with each hour, shrinking to the size of a solved math problem. Not dismissed, not forgotten, just categorized. A lesson becomes light when it's put back on the shelf. Days pass, and each day reintroduces you to something that is yours. The clerk at the counter recognizes you by the way your paperwork aligns. The notification on your phone arrives and matches your reflection. A letter comes stamped with a seal that feels like a handshake. It confirms that the corrections are not temporary, they're structural. Structures endure storms without spectacle. There is a separate note about restitution, and it speaks in numbers that want to apologize without using words. You read it once and then set it down, because the real gift was the return of your name. Money is efficient, identity is sacred. On a morning bright enough to fold into your memory, you decide to walk a little longer before work. The city greets you with street names that have always belonged, and you greet them back. Nothing dramatic happens, and that is the reward. Archangel Michael says you will notice the subtle upgrades first. The inbox, once unruly, now behaves like a train that keeps the schedule. The mirror, once reluctant, reflects without argument. You quietly audit the edges of your life where the shadow once lingered. Old subscriptions are either canceled or brought under your key. Dormant accounts either wake under supervision or are put to rest with a clear signature. You call your bank and request that any new high-value request be confirmed by voice plus code plus in-person check. The manager, who has seen many storms, nods through the line as if you were sitting right there. Policies become promises when someone actually uses them. You place a small card in your wallet that lists only lifelines, your primary contact number, an alternate, the single email you trust for recovery, the name of the official who stamped your correction. The card isn't for fear, it's for clarity on tired days. Tired days deserve kindness too. At work, You tell the minimal truth to the minimal number of people, and you tell it well. A colleague closes a gap in a spreadsheet and says your name with care. The office returns to its ordinary hum, which now feels like music. The person who borrowed you faces their own corridor of doors. That journey doesn't belong to your thoughts anymore. You have edges to tend and a center to keep warm. One evening you sit with a clean sheet of paper and write your name once, not as proof but as praise. The line is neither shaky nor rigid. It has the ease of someone back on their own road. You place the paper in the folder with a small smile that answers to no crowd. From time to time, you check the health of your identity like someone waters a plant. Not obsessively, not with panic, rhythmically. Rhythm grows strength without headlines. You make a short list titled, "If Ever Again," and it fits on a single page. It reads, call, verify, freeze, report, meet. 5 steps, 1 voice. You learn to recognize the difference between urgency and drama. Urgency helps, drama consumes. You choose help. When a new form asks for more than it needs, you decline with grace. When a stranger insists they're from a department that doesn't exist, you hang up without apology. Boundaries are the quiet doors of a safe house. Archangel Michael says repair is a kind of worship, of truth, of time, of the name you carry. You live that worship in practical ways. The practical life is holier than thunder when it protects what is real. You begin to enjoy simple paperwork days, the ones where a stamp lands true and you walk out in 10 minutes. The small victories stack until they feel like a staircase. From the top step, the view is ordinary and perfect. The people closest to you notice your steadiness before you do. They mirror it back to you in the way they ask fewer worried questions. Peace becomes contagious in the best way. You mark the anniversary of the meet with something small and human, a good meal, a call to someone who stood beside you, a new notebook. No speeches, no fireworks, just the exact amount of gratitude that fits in your hands. On a late afternoon, rain draws faint lines across the window, and you realize you no longer wait for the other shoe. Both shoes are on your feet. You're already walking. The city keeps its rhythm, and so do you. When forms ask for your name, you give it as simply as breath. The world nods back because the world prefers things that fit. You place the final corrected letter in a folder labeled not case, but record. Cases close, records remain. You prefer what remains. A neighbor you barely know says your name in the hallway, and it sounds right coming from someone ordinary. Rightness, it turns out, isn't loud. It is exact. You learn to end days without replaying them for errors. The meat took that habit from you gently. Now you review days for satisfactions, which are quieter and truer. When a new opportunity arrives, there is no hesitation about whether it belongs. It sees your name and recognizes a doorway it can trust. You step through without shrinking. Archangel Michael says, "Let the shadow chapter teach but not define. Let the corrected record be your certificate of calm. Let your steps write the next pages in straight lines." Someone once moved through your life like a borrowed echo. Now your voice is the original again, steady and kind. Every system that matters has learned to listen. If you ever hear footsteps that sound like old confusion, you won't flinch. You'll turn the right locks, call the right names, and watch the fog dissolve. Clarity is your weather now. This is the life after exposure, ordinary, precise, and yours. Doors open because they should. Papers pass because they're true. And when the lights fall across your table in the evening, they land on a name that finally rests. The room knows you. You know you. There is nothing left to reclaim, only things to live. The calendar waits, not with deadlines, but with days. You pick them up, one by one, and they fit. Archangel Michael says there is still more to restore, and this next part arrives like quiet rain after a storm. You don't need thunder to confirm that the ground is drinking deeply. What grows from here is sturdy because it's watered by truth. You decide to map the whole story from the first strange letter to the final corrected stamp. A timeline takes shape across your table, steady as a railway. Each station you mark becomes a place where confusion ended and clarity boarded. The very first dot is the day you felt watched by your own records, the morning a benefit showed as claimed. You write it down without heat, just accuracy. Accuracy has become your favorite language. The next dot is the voice of the clerk who remembered eyes like yours, then the grainy camera frame that felt like a mirror with a lag. You draw a line between those points and label it imitation. Imitation can shadow you for a while, but it cannot breathe for you forever. Midway down the page, you draw a small circle and call it the meat. You color it in until the pen is warm, because that was the day your name sat in the right chair. In that room, the echo turned into evidence and the fog turned into paper. You add 2 more dots, restitution proposed, and safeguards added. One is about numbers. The other is about peace. Peace matters more, but both will travel with you. A friend calls and asks if you want to tell the story again, and you say no with a soft laugh that surprises you. The story is yours, but your life is larger than the story. Today you'd rather cook something simple and let normalcy season the room. When you eat, you taste the relief in the way food returns to being just food. It isn't comfort, it isn't distraction, it's dinner. The ordinary has been returned to you like a favorite sweater found at the back of a closet. Tomorrow there is a follow-up session, not a trial, just a careful audit. The people in that room don't want drama. They want closure that can survive a spreadsheet. Closure that survives a spreadsheet is the best kind. You arrive with your folder lighter by fear and heavier by proof. A woman named Clara meets you at the door with a checklist that could guide a ship through fog. She doesn't rush you because speed and accuracy rarely shake hands. Clara asks you to speak your name and then to speak your address, the one that knows your footsteps. She nods because cadence matters in a world of copy-paste. Cadence is how truth keeps rhythm. She opens a binder and gently shows you the seams where the shadow stitched their story. One seam is a duplicate SIM request, another seam is a database lookup, the third seam is an old leak from a careless office. It's not one catastrophe, it's many tiny doors left ajar. Together, you close the tiny doors with practical keys. One key is a poured-out pin that cannot be guessed. Another is a note on your file that requires in-person confirmation for changes. The last is an alert that pings you when anything moves that shouldn't. You sign 2 lines with a hand that no longer trembles and watch the ink settle. Ink that settles is a small miracle. It means the signature arrived where it belongs. Archangel Michael says the shadow's strategy depended on your doubt, but doubt has been evicted. Where doubt lived, you've installed a habit of verification that doesn't steal your joy. Joy is allowed to walk around now without checking the windows every 5 minutes. Clara shares one last page titled Post-Exposure Best Practices, and you smile because you already started. She smiles back when you mention the passphrase and the triple backups. Professionals relax when they meet someone who treats peace like a craft. On the ride home, you look out the window and notice how the city has quietly decided to be beautiful. Again, streetlights don't perform, they illuminate. That is enough. You check your phone and see a new message. Final confirmation posted. Case moved to resolved and monitored. The words feel like fresh paint drying without fumes. You breathe easy. At home, you set the folder in a place reserved for safekeeping and slide a small card in front of it, mine. The card is unnecessary, but a part of you likes the ceremony. Ceremony teaches the body that something ended. Days drift forward and you add goodness back into your schedule the way you add spices to a dish. A call with a friend who makes you laugh, real laughter. A long walk at the hour the sky goes kind. You visit an office for one remaining signature and the guard at the door says your name with a tone that fits. The tone is not suspicion or apology, it's welcome. Welcome carries a temperature you've missed. Inside, an administrator shows you a corrected ID card. The surface is the same, but it holds your face with renewed certainty. Cards like this are quiet flags. You hold the card, not as a trophy, but as a receipt for a reality that never should have been disputed. The plastic is warm from the printer and warmer from your hand. It slips into your wallet like a tile into its pattern. On a quieter night, you sit at your desk and write a small letter to your future self. You don't dramatize, you detail. You tell them, if anything ever feels off again, follow the 5 steps and call Clara. You also tell them that trust is still allowed, that caution doesn't have to dress like fear, that vigilance can be gentle. Gentleness, you write, is a form of intelligence when applied to your own heart. You sign with a steady hand. Archangel Michael says the difference between guarding and gripping is breath. You practice the kind that keeps your shoulders low and your margins wide. Wide margins leave space for grace and for good surprises. A month later, the last reimbursement lands with a soft chime. You record it, thank the moment, and move on. Moving on is the melody, accounting is the drum. Friends sometimes ask for the story because they heard a whisper of it. You give them the outline, then you bring them tea. The tea is the point now, not the outline. You hear about the shadow only through official channels, and even those mentions taper off. It's as if a stage hand pulled a rope and the set quietly rolled away. Empty stages are not sad, they are ready. You buy a simple lockbox for physical originals and slide it under the bed where memory can sleep. Inside are birthmarks of paper, certificates, copies, the letter that confirms your corrections. These are the quiet bones of a life. On a Saturday afternoon, you reorganize your phone as if it were a drawer. Fewer apps, clearer names, notifications that behave. Order is not strict, it is soothing. You add a contact called Lifelines, and attach numbers that love you back. There are only 3. 3 is enough when each is true. At work, you take on a project that asks for your signature on a plan that affects other lives. You say yes without flinching because you trust your name again on promises. Promises made by a steady person are like anchors that also know how to lift. The seasons shift, and with them your routines learn new light. In winter you guard warmth, in summer you guard rest. Guarding now feels like tending, not like bracing. One evening the sky drops a slow rain and you stand at the doorway, listening. You remember the corridor where the meet happened and how the door clicked at the end. Different buildings, same click, closure. Archangel Michael says gratitude is best expressed as maintenance. You keep your systems updated, your files in order, your contacts informed. You also keep your joy curious. You begin a small tradition of monthly self-checks. 10 minutes with a list that asks simple questions. Did anything shift? Do I need a new key anywhere? Does everything that's mine still answer to my voice? Most months, the answers are easy and you go back to your life before the tea cools. Sometimes there's a small fix, and you make it before the kettle whistles. Fixes are lighter when they arrive early. You volunteer for a workshop that teaches others how to keep their names safe without losing themselves. You speak simply, avoiding fear like you avoid salt in a sweet recipe. People leave with checklists and softer faces. Someone asks if the shadow ever apologized, and you answer with the only truth that matters. My name came home. They nod because closure can wear many outfits, and this one fits you. You don't need matching shoes for it to count. The night before the anniversary, you take out the timeline you drew that first week after the meet. You add a final line at the end and label it, "Life continues." The words look ordinary and that delights you. You slip the paper back, turn off the light, and your room understands. It has watched you practice. Calm enough times to recognize the ritual. The dark is kind because you taught it to be. Morning brings a message from Clara. Just a scheduled wellness ping from the system. All clear. Monitoring ongoing. You smile and send back a simple, "Thank you." Even gratitude gets to be minimal now. You celebrate with a walk through a market where nothing is urgent and everything is bright. A child points at a kite and the kite listens to the wind correctly. Control is not the goal, responsiveness is. Back at home, you pick up a book you've been meaning to read and finish 3 chapters without checking your phone. Your attention has returned to you like a friend who rings the right doorbell. You let it in and it stays for tea. Archangel Michael says, when truth returns, let it sit, let it root, let it shade you. You do this with small choices all day. Small choices accumulate into a canopy. On a quiet afternoon months later, you receive an invitation to speak at a community center about resilience. You accept because resilience, you've learned, is just maintenance plus kindness over time. You tell them that in the first minute and spend the rest showing checklists. During questions, someone trembles while asking how to sleep while waiting for a meet. You answer with your breath first, slow and visible. Then you give them your simple list: prepare, verify, show up, trust your paper, let the room work. Walking home, you realize you have started measuring days by how much softness you can keep while staying sharp. Sharpness without softness made the shadow loud. Softness without sharpness would have let it linger. You set a small plant on your desk and name it Record, because it grows in layers that overlap and reinforce. When a new leaf unrolls, you nod. New leaves don't erase the old ones, they add weight in the right direction. Your phone chimes with a rare alert, a request that looks like a glitch. You test it with your 5 steps and it dissolves into nothing. The proof of learning is not panic, it's pace. A message arrives from someone who helped you early on, just a simple check-in. You thank them again, and this time your thanks lands in a place inside you that didn't exist before. The architecture of your gratitude has refined. Archangel Michael says endings become beginnings when we respect the hinge. The meat was a hinge. You turned with it, and now the door opens and closes with no squeak. You notice you don't narrate the old fear to yourself anymore. The story has slotted into its shelf and the shelf holds many other books now. You reach for different volumes, recipes, travel notes, a new language app. In a drawer, a spare phone sleeps with emergency credentials. It is not a bunker, it is a flashlight. Knowing where it is lets the rest of your life be light. When the city loses power for an hour one evening, you don't feel triggered. You light a candle and boil water on the stove. Preparedness is not a jagged edge in you anymore. It is a round pebble you keep in your pocket. You hear, months later, that the shadow moved to a different chapter in a different book that you will never read. You wish their next chapters are honest ones because honesty stabilizes the ground everyone walks on. Then you set the thought down and return to the soup. You develop a ritual for opening mail, just enough to keep the world tidy. Mail that pretends to be urgent gets 15 seconds of your time and no more. Real letters get a chair and a pen. Archangel Michael says the soul likes a clean desk. You make one at the end of each day and your sleep thanks you. Morning meets you with fewer negotiations. You schedule a yearly review with Clara's office not because anything is wrong, but because stewardship likes calendars. The reminder sits politely and doesn't poke you. You'll pat its head when it chirps. On the year's final evening, you stand where the corridor of the meet once filled your ears with fluorescent hum. Now, even the memory of that hum is gentle. The angles of the building are just angles again. You whisper your name into the new year like a password that unlocks only what belongs to you. The door opens the way doors should, quietly, smoothly, without spectacle. You walk through and the floor welcomes your weight. You keep walking, and the world, having learned you, walks with you.